How would you critique Spotify? Hey guys, welcome back to another Exponent product design mock interview. Today we are Furkan. We're going to be doing a product design app critique question. And before we get into that, Furkan, do you want to just tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hey everyone, my name's Furkan. I work as a product designer at Meta in London on the workplace team right now. I like to make design videos on my own YouTube channel, and other than that, I like to do a bit of gaming, running on the side as well.
Awesome, thanks for coming on. So we're going to be doing, like I said, a product design app critique question, and this is what I'd like to ask. How would you critique Spotify?
Yeah, sure. So let's get started into like the actual like purpose of like Spotify, the actual app, before even diving into the app. And one thing I'd start with is if you throw back to around like 2008 when Spotify was first about, like there was this era before Spotify where you was mainly using iTunes to really like import music on and download music locally on your phone. But then Spotify really changed this where you basically were allowed to start streaming music on the go. And that's something they really changed the game with, is that now that they noticed this problem of like they want to make it easier for people just to access music, and they really want to connect fans and artists together. They want to basically give as many artists as possible to the ability to connect to as many fans as possible, and that's something that still resonates today. But then before even diving into Spotify, like I guess they've really delved out away from music now in 2022. It's more than just a music app. They're now delving into the podcast space. We see they've invested hundreds of millions of dollars into exclusive shows such as the Joe Rogan show, the Harry, Meghan Markle. They've got exclusive podcasts on Spotify, as well as Addison Rae and various other podcasts are on there, as well as they've recently acquired some audiobook firms as well. So it's more than just a music app these days. And it's because when it comes to music as a purpose, I feel like Spotify has a lot of competition out there. For example, there's Apple Music, there's Tidal, there's things like SoundCloud, there's Deezer. And the problem with Spotify is that when it comes to competing against these firms, is that music is a perfect good. So you listen to the same like Taylor Swift song on Apple Music, on Spotify. Therefore, they have to really differentiate themselves a lot further. And this is where they're really like struggling, as opposed to um, differentiate themselves now that all of these other apps basically offer the same services. So they have to delve into things like podcasts. But yeah, that's like mainly what Spotify is really about when it comes to like the competition and the purpose of the product. But then I guess what's interesting, like before you even like use Spotify, is they have different like revenue models for them to compete against. There's a free tier model, which is really interesting, where you can use Spotify as an app and they just play music, and then you have adverts like the radio in between songs. But then they have a subscription model base where, for example, you pay $10 a month to get access to premium Spotify, which removes all the adverts. And the adverts are usually personalized as well, which could, I guess, in terms of a privacy standpoint, I feel like is a good thing. That they are personalized, because it gives you more contextual and relevant adverts. Maybe they're based off of your music listening tastes as well. And Spotify have started to notice that maybe let's dive into different subscription models as well. They're not just giving premium tier and free tier. They're now looking at a middle tier where you still have adverts, but you can skip unlimited amount of songs now. So there's a different level of friction they're adding to the Spotify app. So they've noticed that maybe people can't afford premium, but then they're actually made this like in between tier. And it's interesting, like the space that Spotify are in, because their values are very much around like connecting artists to listeners, and they have like this whole royalty fee model that they're paying their artists, but then they're always in the news, I suppose, about making sure they're paying the artists a right amount of money as well. So I guess let's like dive into the app as well. I don't know if there's like any like other questions around like their business model.
No other questions. Yeah, thanks for outlining just like how the product works. Let's take a look at how you would design or critique like the product itself.
Yeah, sure. So I guess like diving straight into the actual app, the first thing when opening it up is I'd like look at straight away is that they've got a dark theme going on. And the thing that stood out straight away is it's like good evening text. And Spotify have these design values around being personalized, unified, and relevant. And what we mean by it being relevant and personalized, you can see here that it knows in my local time zone, it's the evening right now. So it's already changed like the content and copy to good evening. And I feel like that's something that Spotify really differentiate themselves a lot better compared to like Apple Music or their competitors, is that they really rely on that personalized experience. So first thing is, so you see straight away, you've got like personalized songs that I've been listening to at the top here, which works really well. It is in the sense that if I'm opening the app, there's going to be this flow or persona of someone looking to listen to music straight away. And they know that I've listened to these albums or songs like recently. Therefore, let's like display them straight away at the top with probably like one of the biggest amounts of like hierarchy, because at the top of the screen, there's a lot of real estate here. And knowing that you want to make the app as personalized as possible, I think is a good decision by them by putting this at the top here. And there's a lot of these like buttons, I suppose, at the top here. They are quite small, and it limits the amount of like text that you can like put on here as well. So an improvement I would make here is maybe instead of displaying like they have 6 cards here or buttons, I'd like maybe display like 4 and then actually increase a font size here, maybe because of a limitation of the font size is actually quite small from an accessibility perspective. This is something I think that could be a little better and more clear. And then I suppose like scrolling down is that we mentioned the whole podcast space that Spotify are investing in, and they've merged this into the same app. What's interesting is with other apps like Apple Podcasts, is that it's a completely differentiated app, whereas Spotify are betting on merging them into the same app. So we've got podcasts on the home screen here as well. And I think what's like interesting about this, and personally, I feel like could be improved, is that how does Spotify know I want to listen to a podcast right now or music? For example, I'm in the mood right now to listen to music, but they've taken a lot of the screen real estate to display podcasts. And this, I feel like for someone that's maybe a hardcore like music listening fan, it's not going to resonate that well. And I get they want the app to be more contextual and relevant, but then there's a time to like display this. And for me right now in the evenings, I don't really like to listen to podcasts. So I feel like there could be maybe more personalization to anticipate your listening habits of podcasts. For example, I know I listen to podcasts in the morning. So how about in the evening they display a music carousel instead? And that's something I'd probably improve a lot further onto this app. Or if not, I'd actually differentiate podcasts completely out of the app personally, because I feel like you can have a more of a unified and complete control over a complete podcast experience here, because they're trying to merge the two together at the same time. It can get confusing, I feel like, for a user to understand what are episodes for you. And when was the last time I listened to some of these podcasts? And do I always want to be having podcasts and music in the same app? I feel like these are questions I've probably done in research, and they've probably got some data to back this up. That I know like podcasts is something to get profitable for Spotify, but is it something people want to see living in the same app? Looking at some of the interactions and the components they use here, so they've got a carousel that they use, and what you can see is it's a common like iOS pattern that's used throughout other apps. So it's a native component, and I guess users should be familiar with a carousel. It's used in widely across the industry on iOS and Android. However, I think a carousel could be quite limiting in this manner, in the sense that we're only able to display 2.5 podcasts here. So we've got this 8 Pixel Radio podcast, The Economist, and then I have to scroll all the way down to see the rest of the podcast. And why I say this is limiting is because it's a limiting the amount of discoverability. What's the chances of someone scrolling to the end to find out that Peter Crouch podcast or this podcast called Introducing Putin or Money Talks from The Economist. Like, you're really relying on someone to really scroll to the end, and the chances of someone really finding this podcast is quite limiting, and that's a disadvantage of using this component. What I'd recommend is maybe having a see all button that allows you to take you dedicated to a page to explore them in maybe more of a matrix grid, to explore the podcast more easily, because I find it quite limiting. I did mention it is a familiar component for people, but then if you're looking for a podcast really quickly, I don't think it's the best pattern to use. And that's why I'll look at something with more vertical scrolling rather than horizontal here as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the Spotify uses the carousel quite frequently on this like home screen. So maybe you'd want to prioritize when you show that see all button. Maybe you'd only want to show it for podcasts and not for any other, so you don't like clutter the home screen too much.
Yeah, totally. And since they're pushing podcasts quite heavily with their exclusive shows, I feel like that would be a good bet, to be honest. And maybe it'll be good for them to actually promote some of the exclusive shows I get with my Spotify subscription, because sometimes it's nice to know with my £10 a month or $10 a month that I'm paying for, like actually these other shows that are just exclusive for Spotify, and it'll make you feel maybe more special, as well as that you get more value for your money as well. Cool. So scrolling down here, like you mentioned, they use the carousel a lot here for discoverability. Mainly, I guess what the carousel does allow you to do is just fit more components into the screen. So you have the chances of fitting more categories of information in. So again, we mentioned that Spotify here is really about being personalized. So it's got my name on. There's nothing more personal than putting someone's name on the actual screen. So I'm sure if you had Spotify right now, Kevin, like it would say made for Kevin instead. Right. And I feel like that's something I really feel like Spotify do really well with the copy and the content that they use. And it's something that I don't see other competitors doing, like Apple Music. And then they use this carousel component again. And here, I guess these are like personalized mixes. These are like songs that I really like to listen to. And I guess these are just personal to me. And these, I feel like that's something they differentiate themselves really well, is that they're making personal music playlists that are just based on your past listening habits. And they usually work really well here. And what's interesting is the tones of the colors they use on these daily mix covers here. So they're really quite bold. The colors are quite funky. You've got like pinks, you've got nice pastel greens and yellows, and these are really just fun and bright colors, because that's like what music, your listening experience, what you want it to be. You want it to be exciting when you come into this app, and I suppose the dark theme really allows this to really pop out as well. And I think what they do really well is with the imagery of the artists as well, like having their faces there. Like you can see, like there's this picture of like Post Malone here, and I guess because you're listening to his music, it'll feel even more like personal. You'll feel even more connected to the artist, like knowing like this is someone I really like, and they're on my home screen as well. And I feel like it's a really good way for them to basically connect the user closer to the artist as well. One of their values that they're looking to as well. And what's even interesting here, they've got a Discover Weekly playlist, and it's got even a personal profile picture. If you see here on the Discover Weekly, that's my like personal like profile picture. And I think that's a really nice touch, you know. It's something that's, you know, it's really individualized and personalized for yourself, just having your personal profile picture here. And they try to even jazz it up with a little gradient going off here. You've got a blue to like pink like gradient. And I think what adds a nice effect to like with the rest of the app, because they're using a lot of purples and greens, these pastel colors. So it makes it even more cool. Like you maybe got your own little album cover. So it gives a little effect here as well. So we've like dived into one of the playlist screens here, and what we're doing here, I suppose, as a listener, like there's different flows. There's like as an artist, or you could you, or as a listener, I'm maybe exploring for like music I want to listen to, or there could be the actual flow. There's different flows of like searching for a song. For example, I might have be in the mood to listen to, for example, Frank Ocean or Taylor Swift right now. So I could be searching for a song, or I could be looking for inspiration. So there's these various different flows that Spotify have to like anticipate here. And what we're looking at here with this flow here is, as I suppose, this is more for someone that's like getting some inspiration of what to listen to, whether it's like the Discover Weekly podcast. But then when we look at the bottom of Spotify, they have this like tabbed navigation. So they have a home, search, and your library, a native component used in iOS, as well as we see like Android apps having this as well, and a very familiar navigation pattern. But what Spotify do really well here is they just branch out the app really clearly of, do you want to just go to your home screen? Do you want to search or have your library? And I think that goes down to those personas I was touching on earlier is, do you want to like discover things with search, or do you want to go on a home page for like inspiration, or do you want to go to your personalized library with all of your content that you already know that you want to listen to? And I feel like that they have really cleared up the bottom tab navigation. So I guess we could like dive into the search flow here. And for example, you might be searching for a song, for example, say like Taylor Swift or like Frank Ocean. But before you even go into the search, they actually have some discoverability here by displaying some cards with, for example, your top genres. And then they plug the podcast again because they've invested so heavily. I feel like personally, differentiating the app out between podcasts and music will help a user more, because I can sometimes find this confusing because I'm searching music and podcasts in the same place. Um, and I guess with like your top genres, it's good that they've anticipated I like to listen to a lot of pop and hip hop here. And then when you scroll down, like the information here isn't actually organized chronologically, alphabetically. It's actually ordered, interesting enough, podcast as number one. Maybe they want people to understand you can actually play podcasts on here. Then they've got made for you, they've got charts and new releases. So that's interesting the way they've actually organized the information here. Is actually not chronologically ordered. It's actually ordered more like anticipated. Maybe they've done some like research, like actually these are some high profile things we want to push on our users, like podcasts right now. These are big bets, as well as we want it to be personalized. We know that we want to push our made for you stuff because we feel like it's going to be really good and it's going to like entice you and invest you more into the Spotify experience. Because I feel like one thing with music apps is, a common thing I hear a lot of like friends say is that once you've invested and made your playlists and you've got your mixes, you're inclined to continue your subscription, because I guess it's hard. The exit barriers are harder now that you've got all of your albums downloaded, you've got all your playlists made. So it's harder now to remake all of that on Apple Music again. So I guess like we can like quickly like search here, and as soon as I like type, say like for Taylor Swift, like what's really interesting about this flow is like the first thing is they've got like a smaller search bar here, and the animation, the interaction, it brings up the keyboard straight away. And I feel like that works really well because they're anticipating you want to type straight away, something that's expected in terms of like search behavior. And they bring up the recent searches here as well. So I with like profiles and artists, they use circles, which I suppose is something that is expected when it comes to like profile picture. It feels a bit more like human, like with a profile picture. That's like a profile picture of like Post Malone here. But then with playlists, they use these square boxes. What's interesting is that it's the same picture they use for the artists throughout the app. So this Post Malone like picture, you can see it's like being duplicated throughout the app. So in terms of like scaling this as a component, I feel like they've made it a lot easier for like the designers and engineers. As that, look, let's like make sure that the artists, they just upload one picture, it fits really well, and we can scale this up and down throughout the app. So say if we was like type in like T, like Taylor Swift, like what's interesting is that it's not just displaying any artists. When you type T, there's tons of artists that begin with T: Travis Scott, Taylor Swift. There's Um, I guess there's Tyler the Creator. I can't think of too many like T artists right now, top of my mind. But what I'm trying to get out is that they know that I've listened to Taylor Swift and Tyler the Creators recently. So I literally just type T in, and they're already anticipating what I'm about to search. And this is a really, really amazing like user experience because I guess when we think of that persona of searching for something, you want to like get to your end result maybe as quick as possible, or you might not be 100% sure of what you're searching for. So if they're anticipating things, they can help you get there a lot quicker. So there must have been a lot of thought that's gone into this. So if we was like searching taste like TA, and you can see like the gradient is actually changing to like the artist as well. So these are really like subtle like motion like things they do, but it's like really makes a big like a difference, you know, all of these are like small little UI touches that they do. um and I guess like I only had to type two letters to actually get to like Taylor Swift, which just shows like the anticipation works really well here. I guess other things you could do is, like we said, like because you can search for music and podcasts in the same place. They've actually got these little chips and filters at the top to maybe help you get there a lot quicker. I guess this is another native like pattern I've mainly seen in like Android phones, actually, with these like chip filters at the top of your searching. So I guess we could actually say, actually, I'm not searching for music. I can change this to like podcasts and shows. And what's nice is that they've got that branded green active state here. So that's like on theme with like the Spotify green. Like it's making it clear that when you like press this interaction, it actually goes, this is a podcast and show. What I was trying to do there is actually deactivate it because I don't want that filter to work, but it's actually not working. Like it's not anticipating what I'd thought it'd do, to be honest. And I feel like that could actually be improved. What happens if I actually press this by accident? Like podcasts and shows. I actually don't want to filter by podcasts and shows now. And actually, I can't turn this off. I'm not sure if this is a bug or it's just a pattern that could be improved. Personally, I feel like they should be able to like actually change this.
Yeah, like anytime you can select this, that you should be able to unselect it.
Yeah, 100%. And another thing is like because there's so many filters, I'd like maybe have an actual filter list button where it brings up maybe a modal overlay, and you can display even more because it makes it hard to cycle through to understand what are all the filters as well. But that kind of sucks that you can't actually like deactivate that. So I guess like now that filter's deactivated, you have to press maybe X at the top. That's definitely an interaction I'll look to improve. So we'll go straight to the album here and the playlist here. And I guess straight away you see a massive like profile picture of the artist. So what you see here is like a really big like H1 text of "This is Taylor Swift." So in terms of hierarchy, it's making sure you're on the right page, but also it's being quite bold as well. Like because maybe this is the artist page, it kind of feels like they're home on the app, you know. So I feel like this is something that I feel like maybe it doesn't have to be this big because of how much like space it takes up. Because I can imagine an artist with a longer name, they'll have to do some sort of like pagination here, but it is a nice little subtle effect that they do here. And what they display here is on the top right, they follow again native components for iOS. To get back, you have the chevron on the top left, the standard behavior, which works well. And then what they've got is they've got a really small body copy that tells you what the playlist is about. And then they've got some contextual information about other Spotify listeners. It's got over 3 million likes, I believe, which is kind of like crazy. And it's like good to know, I suppose. And this playlist is like 8 hours long. But the main thing that pops out to me on the screen in terms of like the visual hierarchy is the name, the image, and then the play button, because they're anticipating you want to play straight away. And what's really interesting is about like the positioning of on the screen of this play button. It's like right in the middle. And I feel like why this works really well is that the ergonomics of this is that when I'm using my phone one-handed, this is in a really good position to press play. So it means that I can get straight to the song a lot quicker and I'm not going to accidentally press another song. So I can get there straight away and it's going to play the music. But what's interesting with this play button is that you're not exactly sure what track is gonna play. I'd assume it'd just play the top one, but I guess when we like tap on this, yeah, it does like play the top one, and I feel like that does like work well. But I suppose it's not 100% always clear that that would have happened, if that makes sense. Um, maybe like I wouldn't mind if it like maybe just shuffled through the entire song like playlist as well when I press play. Because I guess I'm just looking to listen to some Taylor Swift on this playlist, so just play whatever. But I feel like it's a nice ergonomic pattern here that they have done, and it works well.
Yeah, and if you were able to like kind of start the playlist at a random spot every single time, it would make it the playlist different, like with like every time you play it.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes having that variation like helps you like get more into like the playlist or like more into the jazz. Because like I suppose like sometimes when I'm listening to like a playlist and I've listened to it loads of times, I kind of already anticipate, I know what's coming up next, and it can kind of be a bit not as fun of a listening experience. Looking at some like motion design patterns here is that when you press play, you can see this like really small little micro animation here of these little, they like sound like bar charts that are going up and down. So it's like telling you that this is a song that's like playing right now, and they highlight this in green as well, which contrasts really well in terms of accessibility. That dark green with a black contrasts really well. So it makes it really clear that this song's like playing. And then they've got a downloaded symbol as well to make it clear that it's stored locally. And what's really interesting is that this is actually quite a big edge case. I feel like people should like anticipate more as well when it comes to downloaded music and an offline experience, because you could be on a flight with no internet, you could be on the tube with like no internet, or you could be traveling in the country with no internet as well. And I feel like it's actually quite a big edge case for Spotify to think about, is that you might not have internet or Wi-Fi right now. So here are some downloaded songs, and it's something that really like made it pretty clear, like this is something you have downloaded, and it's a big edge case as well for them to think about.
Hmm.
I guess like the last few things to really like we can like touch on and this like critique is when like you're playing a song here, is that they've got some interesting like vertical small little short videos. I guess it's a really popular format we see in terms of like TikTok and like YouTube Shorts and IG Reels. So it's a, I guess like it's a nice way of maybe getting you connected a bit to the song. At the same time, like the majority of the time, how long are you really going to be looking at the screen when you're playing music? The chances are you've got your phone in your pocket or you're using another app as well. But it's a nice little subtle touch to have here of like when you're playing a song, that some of them do have these little videos. Um, but I suppose like at the same time, these videos could be distracting as well, because there's a lot going on. Like we've got motion of the song title going on, we've got motion of this video in the background, and we've got all the controls. So I feel like if I was new to Spotify, this could be quite confusing, and I'd maybe not display videos straight away, or I'd make it an optional feature to pause these because of the amount of like motion that's going on, and it can get quite distracting and confusing. But like I said, I feel like there's a balance of making it more personalized as well. Um, what's interesting here is they've got this lyrics feature as well. But I feel like with the lyrics feature, this could be a lot of like visual improvements on this in the terms of like making it clear, like anticipating like the music, for example. like what is actually being played right now with the actual lyrics, as well as like I don't feel like this Brown really is visually appeasing in terms of the song. As well as like when I actually listen to the song real time, these lyrics don't really line up really well, and that makes a really poor listening experience. And I'm not sure why like a lot of the songs do have lyrics, but then like other songs I've noticed on Spotify sometimes don't. I guess like Taylor Swift as a popular artist does have like lyrics that are always lined out as well. But this lyrics feature, it could be, I feel like, integrated a bit more nicely. So I feel like Apple Music do this really well by taking the whole page over and having a dedicated lyrics page as well. But cool. I guess I don't know in the edit like how much more time we've got left.
Yeah, I think we're pretty good here. Thanks for walking us through how you would go through like an app critique. I think we can stop here for now, and maybe for the audience, just for the remaining like minute or so, do you have any tips on how other folks should approach like a similar app critique question?
Yeah, I guess like the last question I usually do is like if I was a CEO of like Spotify, what's one thing I'd usually change? Because like basically there's these like marks that you have to like tick off. So there's like visual design, interaction design, product thinking, and I feel like sometimes if the interviewer like just allows you to lead it yourself and you can tick these off yourself. At the same time, if it's more instructor led, then sometimes you can bring up questions yourself like if I was the CEO of Spotify, what's one thing I'll change? And I'll personally answer that by saying like, I need to differentiate myself as being more of a music app and a podcast app, and I'd invest maybe in a standalone podcast app in itself because I know that it's getting very popular, this space, and like the exclusive shows I've invested in, I feel like maybe offering a better podcast listening experience that could really help. But yeah, like make sure you talk about the product thinking and just don't focus always on the actual critique and the visuals of the app as well, because there's a lot to it when it comes to designing an app.
Perfect. Yeah, it sounds like it's really important to blend not just like talking about animations, colors, and motion, but also just like the product and business decisions.
Yeah.
Thanks for walking us through this app critique. And for the audience watching at home, good luck with your upcoming product design interview.
Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons below to let us know that this video is valuable for you. And of course, check out hundreds more videos just like this at tryexponent.com. Thanks for watching and good luck on your upcoming interview.